Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. So today is ostensibly a book recommendation, but really and truly it's an excuse for me to talk about my favourite fighter of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson. Now it's easy to run out of superlatives when describing Sugar Ray Robinson, so I just call him the incomparable Sugar Ray Robinson. And I say that with the absolute maximum respect for other great fighters like Greb, Armstrong, Langford, Pep, Benny Leonard. There's a number of people who, deserve to be acknowledged as being superlative fighters. But for me, Sugar Ray Robinson is at the absolute top of that peak. And I feel like I'm in good company. I'm going to read a quote from my favorite heavyweight boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali. Just bear with me when I read the full quote. "I'm always being compared to Sugar Ray Robinson, and for good reason too. It's because Sugar Ray was the greatest fighter of all time. The king, the master, my idol. He was the most complete fighter, the most beautiful boxer to watch. No one could match his skill, his speed, his grace, or his power. He could punch with either hand, he could move, he could do it all. I got my style from watching him. If you want to talk about perfection in the ring, it's Sugar Ray Robinson. People call me the greatest, but I tell everyone, if anyone deserves that title, it's Sugar Ray. He was the real greatest. If I could pick one person in boxing history to fight in their prime, it would be Sugar Ray Robinson. But I don't know if I could beat him. He inspired me to be who I am, not just as a boxer, but as a man." So when you get, when you get, a quote like that from Muhammad Ali, I feel like I'm in pretty good company. If I've got Ali in my corner, I'm good. For most people, I think watching this video will really, already know who Sugar Ray Robinson was. He's universally acknowledged as one of the very, very, very top. The term pound for pound was actually invented to describe Sugar Ray Robinson. If you don't, or you're not too familiar with Sugar Ray, I really encourage you to check out some of the exceptional documentaries that are out there, and I'll put a link in the description to one of my favorites. There's also a ton of books, some very conventional books, including an autobiography he wrote in, I think it was 1970, and there's another book called Pound for Pound. The book I'm going to talk about is a little bit more nuanced. It's kind of a different type of book. But before we get to the book, let's just talk about some of Sugar Ray Robinson's stats. Now, Sugar Ray was born in May of 1921, and he passed away in April 1989, age 67. He turned pro in 1940 after an amateur record which is generally accepted. I say generally accepted because record keeping was not perfect. Generally considered to be 85-0 as an amateur. Anyways, turning pro in 1940, excuse me, please. He served with Joe Louis in World War II, getting into trouble a few times. I can just imagine in those days, a difficult time for black athletes anyhow, and he had some difficulties with the military system. But nevertheless, he served with Joe Louis and did exhibitions for troops, serving his country in that way. If we look at his records from 90, so these are just like, I'm picking snippets here just to show how great a fighter he was, and also to draw comparisons with sort of modern fighters who make claims of being all-time greats, etc. From 1943 to 1951, Sugar Ray went on a 91-fight unbeaten streak. So 91 fights. That's like double or triple what a current fighter would have in their career. By 1951, his record actually stood at 129 with 1 loss and 2 draws. He was the world welterweight champion from 1946 to 51. So By the time he started as a middleweight, he already had this record. I mean, and it's as a middleweight that he's mostly recognized. And in part, that's because footage of his time as a welterweight is not available. There's a few little clips here and there. But it's as a middleweight that Sugar Ray is most recognized, though he was always a natural welterweight, weighed 150 to 160 through most of his fighting career. Let me see, he won the world middleweight title, and then he decides he's going to go and fight as light heavyweight. And he took on Joey Maxim, collapsing at I think it was the 13th round in 104 degree Fahrenheit heat. They'd actually had to replace the ref because the ref had collapsed of heat exhaustion. At that point, Sugar Ray decides, I'm going to retire. And he becomes a dancer. He becomes a celebrity showbiz guy, hanging out with guys like Fred Astaire, dancing with Gene Kelly, appearing with Sammy Davis Jr., and appearing on TV shows, or early, I guess, TV shows. Anyways, like many great athletes, he also had a lot of businesses. He had a famous bar in Harlem where he would park his pink Cadillac, custom Cadillac, and many other barber shops and fashion shops, etc. But he was beginning to sort of feel a bit of a pinch for money. So he comes back in 1955 and wins the world middleweight title. If we look at people he fought, because I'm big on CVs, right? Like, who did you fight? And who did you lose against? Who did you beat? These are very important things to me, and when I'm looking at a fighter's resume. So, the people he fought, and with the exception of Joey Maxim, he beat, included Jake LaMotta, Kid Gavilan, Henry Armstrong, Carmen Basilio, Gene Fulmer, Bobo Olson, Randy Turpin, Rocky Grisano, and Fitzy Zivic. So including Joey Maxim, who he didn't beat, there's 10 Hall of Fame fighters he fought and beat. Some of them beat him once, and it was said you could possibly beat Sugar Ray once, but to beat him twice was impossible. And in many of these cases, he was giving up, 15, 16, 20 pounds, giving up 10 years in age. I mean, he fought Bubba Olson when he was 37, and Bubba was, I think, 27. So, again, a superlative record, absolutely superlative. His overall record, I believe, was 201 fights with, it's thought to be 173 victories. If you look at his record as well, most of Sugar Ray's losses came when he was in his 40s. At a time when he clearly, should have retired had he been able to do so. So he's my favorite fighter. Again, if you haven't heard of him, please go and look at some YouTube documentaries. If you have heard of him, then I recommend this book. The book is called Being Sugar Ray. That's what it looks like if you see it in Chapters or Amazon. I've had this book for many years. It sits on my shelf with my other boxing books behind me. And it's written by a fellow called Kenneth Shropshire. And what I like about this book is it's different to perhaps what we would expect. It's not just a book that's full of praise. It's a book that's much more nuanced. It talks about the concept of being a black celebrity, and this is pre-civil rights times. And it's a much more nuanced examination of the culture of celebrity and how Sugar Ray fit into that, and how he then inspired other people who followed in his footsteps. It's not a book for fanboys. If you don't want to hear anything bad about Sugar Ray, then you shouldn't read this book. because like every human being, Sugar Ray had flaws. He was variously accused of being difficult to work with, sexist, possibly abusive to family members and spouses. And I'm not going to sort of gloss over those things, but that's not the purpose of this video. It's just that if you are a fanboy, and I think honestly, if you're a Sugar Ray Robinson fan, you're probably too old to be a fanboy who can't stand any criticism of your favorite fighter. It's an excellent book, and it provides us with a real insight into how things were, particularly for someone of my demographic. I wasn't alive in the 40s and 50s, and obviously I'm not an American, I'm not an African American, so lots of things that happened then are beyond my understanding. So a book like this provides a really good education for somebody. So I recommend the book. I recommend you look at videos, documentaries about Sugar Ray Robinson, and hopefully you will join me in agreeing that, as Bert Sugar once said, there's all these great fighters, and then at the very, very top, there's Sugar Ray Robinson. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And wherever you are, have a fabulous day. Thank you. Bye-bye.